Sometimes the most painful lesson in life is learning that not everyone deserves another chance. You give them your trust, your love, your loyalty, and they break it without hesitation. Then, when they see you moving on, they come back, with soft words, tears, and promises that sound like redemption, but are only rehearsed lines meant to reopen the door they once slammed in your face. And if you let them in again, you'll realize nothing has changed. Only the way they manipulate you has become more subtle. There comes a point where forgiveness and foolishness begin to look the same. People know when they've hurt you, they just assume you'll always forgive them. They count on your kindness like it's a weakness, not realizing that patience has limits and mercy has boundaries. You can forgive someone and still close the door on them forever. Forgiveness heals your heart. Second chances destroy it, because every time you let them back in, they don't see your grace. They see an opportunity to take advantage again. The truth is, when someone truly values you, they don't need a second chance to prove it. They cherish the first one like it's sacred. But those who betray you once have already shown you who they are. And if you ignore that, you're not giving them a second chance, you're giving them permission to repeat their betrayal. People rarely change just because they say they will. They change only when the loss of you becomes heavier than the comfort of their habits. Don't let nostalgia blind you. The memories that once made you smile are now the same ones that should remind you why you walked away. You can't rebuild something with the same hands that broke it. You can't plant seeds in poisoned soil and expect a different harvest. When someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, they're not making a mistake. They're making a choice. And when you keep accepting them back, you're showing them that your love is available even without accountability. You owe it to yourself to protect your peace. Some people aren't lessons, they're warnings. Their apologies are temporary, their promises are recycled, and their intentions are selfish. They don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they miss the control, the comfort, the access to your energy. Every time you give them another chance, you teach them that betrayal has no consequence, and a love without consequence will always be abused. It takes strength to walk away, but it takes wisdom to stay gone. You cannot heal in the same place that hurt you. You cannot grow while watering what's already dead. The moment you stop giving people second chances, you reclaim your power. You show the universe that your heart is not a doormat, it's a sacred space, and only those who honor it deserve to enter. Let people face the weight of losing you. Let them feel the silence they created. Let them learn that not everyone gets to hurt someone twice. Because every time you save someone from the consequences of their actions, you delay their growth and destroy your own. Life isn't about proving you're kind. It's about protecting what's divine. And your love, your time, your peace, those are divine. Stop giving second chances to people who showed you the first time that they never deserved one. Sometimes the most powerful form of love is distance. Sometimes the only closure you need is respecting yourself enough not to open the door again. When someone shows you who they truly are the first time, believe them. This is one of life's hardest lessons, not because it's difficult to understand, but because it's difficult to accept. We often cling to the image of who we want someone to be, rather than facing the reality of who they've already proven themselves to be. The heart, when it loves deeply, refuses to see red flags. It paints them white and calls it hope. But hope, when misplaced, becomes the very rope we use to tie ourselves to pain. When a person betrays you, lies to you, or disrespects you, that moment is a revelation. It's the mask slipping, the truth emerging, and life whispering, "Pay attention." Yet most people don't. They explain it away, saying everyone makes mistakes, or maybe they didn't mean it. But in truth, people know what they're doing. They know when they're crossing a line. They know when they're taking advantage of your kindness. And once someone feels comfortable disrespecting you, they rarely stop on their own. They stop only when you do. The first betrayal isn't just about what they did. It's about what it reveals. It shows you their values, their respect level, and their capacity to care for others. If someone can hurt you and then justify it, if they can betray you and still sleep peacefully, you've already seen enough. Because character isn't built in apologies, it's revealed in actions. A person who values you will protect your heart as if it were their own. They will guard your trust, not gamble with it. But here's where most people fall into a trap. They confuse potential with proof. You see a glimpse of goodness, a memory of when things were beautiful, and you tell yourself that the person who hurt you isn't really like that. You convince yourself that maybe stress, circumstance, or misunderstanding caused their behavior. So you let them in again. And what happens? They hurt you the same way, only deeper this time, because now they know exactly what you'll tolerate. Every time you ignore the truth the first time it appears, you teach people how to treat you. If they see that you'll overlook lies, they'll become comfortable with deceit. If they realize that your forgiveness has no conditions, they'll use your love as their safety net. And slowly, without realizing it, you become their easy escape from accountability. They'll hurt you, apologize, and then hurt you again, because in their mind, you've already proven that you always forgive. But real love isn't blind. Real love sees the truth and still chooses self-respect. It says, I love you enough to wish you well, but I love myself enough to walk away. You can love someone deeply and still know they're not good for your soul. Love that destroys your peace isn't love. It's attachment. It's your spirit trying to heal a wound by clinging to the very thing that caused it. Believing people the first time they show you who they are doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. It means you value your peace more than you value someone's potential. It means you've learned that not every heart deserves your vulnerability. Not every hand deserves to hold yours, and not every story deserves a second chapter. It means you trust what your spirit feels, not what your emotions want. When you start believing actions more than words, everything changes. You stop chasing explanations and start observing patterns. You stop asking, why would they do this to me? And start realizing this is who they are. You stop begging for closure from people who were never capable of honesty in the first place. And the truth is, the longer you stay around people who repeatedly hurt you, the more you start to lose yourself. You begin to question your worth, your instincts, your sanity. That's the power of manipulation. It makes you doubt what's obvious. That's why God allows betrayal to be so painful, because pain has a way of waking you up when love keeps you asleep. So the next time someone betrays your trust, don't rush to forgive just to feel peace. Let that moment teach you something. Believe what their actions are screaming, even if their words are whispering something sweet. People can fake emotions, but they can't fake patterns. The truth always shows up. You just have to stop making excuses long enough to see it. When someone shows you who they are, believe it the first time. Don't give them the power to rewrite your boundaries. Don't let them convince you that love means enduring harm. Love should never cost your dignity, your self-respect, or your peace. Let their first betrayal be the last lesson. Because once you accept the truth, you stop waiting for them to change, and you start changing your life instead. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. Many people misunderstand forgiveness, believing that to forgive someone means you must let them back into your life. But true forgiveness has nothing to do with restoring connection. It's about restoring your peace. It's an act of release, not reconciliation. When you forgive, you're freeing your own heart from the chains of bitterness. When you give access again, you're handing the key to the very person who locked you in pain in the first place. Forgiveness is sacred. It's between you and God. It's a decision to say, I will not let your actions live rent-free in my heart anymore. It's a spiritual cleansing, a way to let go of resentment that poisons your soul. But giving someone access again, that's a completely different choice. Access is earned through changed behavior, not through words. You can forgive someone 1,000 times and still keep them far from your life. That doesn't make you cruel, it makes you wise. And the reason people keep getting hurt is because they confuse peace with proximity. They think the only way to truly forgive is to return things to how they were. But that's not healing. That's pretending. If someone has betrayed you, lied to you, or disrespected your heart, returning to that same space isn't forgiveness, it's self-abandonment. It's like touching a flame that already burned you just to prove you're over the pain. Healing doesn't mean reopening the wound. It means protecting it while it closes. Some people say, if you truly forgave me, you'd let me back in. That's manipulation disguised as remorse. People who are genuinely sorry never demand access. They understand that forgiveness doesn't automatically rebuild trust. They accept that your distance is part of your healing. But the ones who want to regain control will guilt-trip you into believing that keeping boundaries means you're bitter or unforgiving. Don't fall for that. Setting boundaries after being hurt isn't a sign of hardness. It's a sign of growth. Forgiveness is internal. Access is external. Forgiveness releases them from your judgment. Access reopens your world to their influence. You can forgive from your heart and still protect your life. Even God forgives, but not everyone is allowed into his inner presence. There's a difference between mercy and access, between grace and permission. Mercy says, I wish you well. Access says, come back in. And not everyone deserves that second invitation. When you give someone access too soon after they've hurt you, you give them the chance to do it again. Only this time, you've taught them exactly how to. They know where your soft spots are. They know which words to say, which memories to use, which emotions to pull. And because you forgave them once, they assume you'll forgive again. That's why boundaries matter. Forgiveness without boundaries is an open door to repeat pain. You can forgive a liar and still never trust them again. You can forgive a cheater and still never love them again. You can forgive someone who broke your spirit and still never speak to them again. That's not hatred. That's self-protection. You can wish them well from a distance while wishing yourself peace up close. Forgiveness frees your soul. Distance protects it. There's a difference between healing and inviting. Healing is personal. It's the quiet work you do within. Learning, growing, letting go. Inviting is a choice that affects both your future and your peace. If the person hasn't shown change, hasn't shown accountability, hasn't earned trust, then giving them access again is not grace. It's neglecting your own worth. You must remember, God doesn't command you to keep toxic people close. He commands you to keep your heart clean. That's what forgiveness does. It cleans your heart of hate so that you can move forward. But nowhere in Scripture or wisdom does it say you must reattach yourself to those who continually damage your peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is to close the door gently and never open it again. Forgive, but stay free. Let your forgiveness be strong enough to release them, but let your wisdom be strong enough to protect you. You can carry compassion in your heart and still carry distance in your decisions. Because forgiveness isn't about forgetting what they did. It's about remembering what you learned and refusing to let them hurt you the same way twice. When you separate forgiveness from access, you discover the balance between grace and strength, and that balance is where true peace begins. Repeated betrayal is not a mistake, it's a pattern. The first time someone betrays you, it might shock you. The second time, it's a choice. And by the third, it becomes who they are. People who hurt you once and then come back to do it again are not making random errors. They're showing you their nature. They have discovered that your compassion is stronger than your boundaries, and they're using that compassion as their escape route. You must understand this truth. A person who keeps betraying you is not confused. They're consistent. Mistakes are accidents. Patterns are habits. When someone genuinely makes a mistake, there's remorse, reflection, and a sincere effort to change. They take responsibility, they rebuild trust slowly, and they show through action that they understand the pain they caused. But when betrayal becomes a pattern, you'll notice the difference. Their apologies become routine, their promises lose weight, and their remorse becomes performance. They cry not because they hurt you, but because they fear losing access to you. Many people live stuck in cycles of pain because they mistake patterns for change. You see small gestures, a message, a kind word, a temporary effort, and you think, maybe this time is different, but it never is. The same cycle repeats, the charm, the apology, the comfort, then the betrayal again. They've mastered the art of pretending to care just enough to keep you nearby. And you, because of your pure heart, keep believing in the illusion they create. Let's be clear. When betrayal repeats, it's not about them not knowing better. It's about them knowing exactly what they can get away with. Repetition is proof of comfort. People don't keep doing what makes them uncomfortable. So if they keep betraying you, it means they've grown comfortable hurting you. They've tested your forgiveness and they've learned that you'll always choose peace over confrontation, love over boundaries, and understanding over distance. To them, your forgiveness isn't grace, it's permission. The saddest part is, patterns can only continue with your participation. You can't control another person's behavior, but you can control your access. Every time you let them back in without consequence, you reset their opportunity to betray you again. Life will keep sending you the same test until you finally learn the lesson. Stop giving repeat offenders new chances, because the second, third, or fourth betrayal doesn't come from their evil alone. It comes from your refusal to accept the truth. Think about it. If someone breaks a glass once, it's an accident. If they keep breaking it every time you hand it to them, you have to stop handing it over. That's what repeated betrayal looks like. It's not your job to keep fixing what they keep breaking. It's your responsibility to protect yourself from what keeps wounding you. You are not obligated to keep giving your heart to people who don't value its weight. True love, friendship, and loyalty don't thrive in repetition of pain. They thrive in consistency of care. The right people don't make you question their loyalty. They don't force you to rebuild your trust every few months. They don't disappear when life gets tough, only to return when it's convenient. When someone truly values you, they guard your trust like treasure. But when someone uses you, they treat your forgiveness like a safety net, a place to land whenever they fall from their own irresponsibility. Patterns reveal character. Don't listen to words. Watch repetition. The same behavior that broke your heart once will break it again if you let it. Every repeated betrayal should make your boundaries stronger, not weaker. The people who keep hurting you aren't confused about what they're doing. They're counting on your willingness to forget. But you must stop confusing love with tolerance. You can love someone and still refuse to be their victim. God allows repeated pain not to punish you but to wake you up. Each betrayal is a divine alarm saying, "You've learned enough from this person." Don't silence that alarm with another chance. Pain repeats itself until it finally teaches you the value of peace. When you recognize a pattern, you have two choices: to keep suffering from it or to finally break it. And breaking it doesn't mean revenge. It means release. It means you stop expecting change from someone who refuses to grow. It means you stop watering a plant that's rooted in deception. It means you step back and realize that protecting your heart doesn't make you heartless. It makes you aware. Because people who truly love you don't make you bleed just to test how deep your forgiveness runs. So when betrayal repeats, stop listening to promises and start reading patterns. Stop thinking it's bad luck or misunderstanding. It's not. It's the same person, the same behavior, and the same outcome. Only happening again because you allowed it. Once you see the pattern, don't wait for another lesson. Break the cycle before it breaks you. Second chances teach people that betrayal has no consequence. Every time you allow someone back into your life after they've hurt you, you communicate something far deeper than forgiveness. You tell them that your boundaries are negotiable. You tell them that your pain has no price, and that their actions will always be met with another opportunity to try again. And in that unspoken exchange, the balance of respect shifts. They stop fearing the loss of you, and once they no longer fear losing you, they stop valuing you. Human nature thrives on consequences. We learn what's right and wrong, not through words, but through the results of our actions. When a child touches fire, the burn teaches them more than any warning could. The same principle applies to relationships. If someone hurts you and faces no real consequence, they learn nothing. They see your forgiveness not as strength, but as permission. They don't think, "I'm lucky they forgave me." They think they'll always forgive me. And that belief becomes the foundation of how they treat you moving forward. This is why second chances so often lead to repeated betrayal. Without consequence, there is no change. People don't evolve from comfort. They evolve from the discomfort of loss. When someone realizes that their actions could cost them your presence, your trust, and your love, that's when self-reflection begins. But if you cushion every mistake with grace and erase every boundary with mercy, you rob them of that awakening. They continue in the same cycle because your forgiveness becomes their safety net, and they start to believe that no matter how badly they hurt you, they can always fall back into your arms. Letting someone feel the consequences of losing you is not cruelty, it's divine justice. Sometimes the most powerful lesson God allows in someone's life is the silence that follows your absence. The conversations that used to comfort them are gone. The warmth they used to take for granted disappears. The loyalty they dismissed now feels irreplaceable. And only in that emptiness do they begin to understand the weight of what they destroyed. When you keep giving second chances, you shield people from that truth. You interrupt the natural law of cause and effect, the very law that teaches accountability. You make it easy for them to avoid self-confrontation. They don't have to face the reality of their actions because you keep resetting the stage for them to play the same role again. They never experience the full consequence of betrayal because you keep softening the impact with your kindness. Sorrow? And this doesn't just hurt you. It hurts them too. You prevent them from growing. You enable their immaturity, their selfishness, their carelessness. You become the one absorbing the pain they were meant to learn from. You become the consequence they should have faced. Each time you forgive without boundaries, You take on their burden, and they walk away lighter, unchanged, and ready to repeat the same behavior with you or someone else. Think about how God disciplines. His forgiveness is limitless, but his access hasn't. When we disobey, he doesn't stop loving us, but he allows distance, consequences, and lessons to shape us. That's how change happens. God's mercy doesn't cancel his order, it works through it. You must do the same. Forgive with love, but allow people to experience the distance their actions created. That distance teaches far more than your words ever could. When someone knows that you'll always give them another chance, they begin to take your pain lightly. They start to think that you're emotionally invincible, that you'll bounce back no matter what they do. But no one deserves to live like that, constantly healing from the same person. That's not loyalty, that's self-destruction. Loyalty to someone who repeatedly wounds you is disloyalty to your own peace. Every time you let a betrayal slide, you lower the standard for how others treat you. You silently tell the world, this is acceptable. But when you stop giving second chances, when you draw a clear line and walk away, you teach them something powerful, that love has dignity, that trust is sacred, and that losing you is a consequence, not a convenience. And maybe they'll call you heartless, cold, or unforgiving, but that's only because they're uncomfortable with accountability. People who benefited from your leniency will always demonize your boundaries. Let them. Because the ones who truly care won't need second chances to treat you right. They'll value you enough to get it right the first time. So remember, every second chance you give to someone unworthy doesn't just show mercy. It teaches them that there's no price for hurting you. But when you finally stop giving chances, when you let silence replace explanations and distance replace forgiveness, that's when the real lesson begins. That's when life itself becomes their teacher. Love requires boundaries to survive. Without boundaries, love becomes chaos. A space where one person gives endlessly while the other takes without limit. Many people confuse unconditional love with unlimited tolerance, but they are not the same. Unconditional love is pure, but it still honors respect, honesty, and mutual care. Unlimited tolerance, on the other hand, destroys both people. It drains the giver and enables the taker. When you love without boundaries, you stop protecting what makes your love sacred. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are fences that protect the garden of your peace. They tell others, you are welcome here, but only if you don't trample what I've grown. The truth is, love without structure collapses under the weight of disrespect. When someone knows they can cross every line and still be welcomed back, they lose appreciation for your heart. They start to believe your love is unconditional, not in purity, but in weakness, and slowly they stop cherishing it. A relationship without boundaries breeds resentment. You begin with good intentions, always saying yes, always forgiving, always sacrificing, thinking that love requires constant endurance. But over time, the imbalance eats away at you. You start feeling unseen, unheard, and unvalued. You start realizing that your patience has become their comfort zone. And instead of nurturing love, you're now maintaining a one-sided connection powered by guilt and fear of losing them. Healthy love isn't about giving everything. It's about giving what's right. A love that survives the test of time is built on mutual respect. And respect cannot exist without limits. Boundaries are what teach others how to love you. They communicate what is acceptable, what isn't, and where peace must be preserved. Without that clarity, people project their own brokenness onto you. They take more than they give, they demand more than they deserve, and they leave you exhausted in the name of love. But love was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you. True love will never ask you to betray yourself just to keep it alive. If you must constantly silence your feelings, ignore your intuition, or tolerate disrespect just to maintain a connection, then what you're holding on to isn't love. It's fear disguised as loyalty. Boundaries are what separate love from servitude, connection from captivity. When you establish boundaries, you filter out those who only loved your benefits, not your being. The wrong people will get angry when you draw lines because they benefited from crossing them. They'll accuse you of being cold, distant, or selfish, but that's only because your limits expose their entitlement. The right people, however, will respect your boundaries because they understand that love isn't ownership, it's stewardship. They'll value your peace as much as their own. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you love less, it means you love wisely. It means you understand that your time, your energy, and your emotions are sacred. It means you've learned from pain that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. Because love is not supposed to feel like walking on glass. Love that constantly hurts is not love. It's dependency wrapped in hope. If someone truly cares for you, they will never make you choose between them and your peace. They'll adjust, they'll listen, and they'll honor the space you need. But if someone resists your boundaries, that resistance itself is your answer. It tells you they were never there for love. They were there for control. They wanted your attention, your care, your energy, not your well-being. Boundaries are spiritual armor. They protect the purity of your love from being contaminated by manipulation. They ensure that your kindness remains strength, not weakness. Even God's love, which is infinite, operates within laws. There's mercy, but also accountability. There's forgiveness, but also justice. Likewise, your love must have structure. You can forgive, but still distance. You can care, but still protect yourself. You can love deeply, but still say no. When you begin enforcing boundaries, something beautiful happens. Your energy begins to shift. Peace returns. Clarity grows. You start attracting people who see your worth instead of testing it. You stop feeling drained and start feeling free. Love becomes lighter because it's no longer built on fear or guilt. It's built on truth. So never feel guilty for setting boundaries. They are not barriers to love. They are the foundation of it. The more you respect your limits, the more others will respect your presence. Love that demands you to lose yourself isn't love worth keeping. Protect your peace, guard your heart, and remember, real love doesn't fear boundaries. It's defined by them. You cannot heal where you were broken. It's one of the hardest truths to accept, because the human heart longs for closure in the same place it was shattered. You think that if you can make it work again, if you can fix what was lost, the pain will finally make sense. But healing doesn't happen in the environment that caused your wounds. It happens in the distance, where you can finally breathe without fear. The same people, the same patterns, the same energy that broke you cannot also rebuild you. When you stay in the place of your pain, you keep reliving it. Every familiar sound, every memory, every conversation reopens the wound you're trying to close. It's like trying to heal a burn by staying close to the fire. The environment that created your suffering becomes a cycle that feeds it. You might tell yourself it's different this time, or they've changed, but deep down you know, if nothing inside them has shifted, then nothing around you will either. The soil that once poisoned you cannot produce peace, no matter how many times you water it with hope. Healing requires separation. It's not about revenge or bitterness, it's about reclaiming your strength. When you step away from what hurt you, you give yourself room to see clearly. The noise fades, the confusion settles, and the truth becomes visible. You begin to realize how much of your identity was lost trying to make things right with the wrong people. You start remembering who you were before the damage, and slowly that version of you begins to return. But that process only begins once you stop standing in the wreckage hoping it will rebuild itself. People often stay where they were broken because they fear loneliness. They confuse solitude with abandonment, not realizing that distance is God's medicine. In isolation, clarity is born. It's where you hear the voice of wisdom instead of the voice of manipulation. It's where your heart learns that peace is more valuable than presence. Sometimes God removes you from certain people not to punish you, but to protect you from becoming what they turned you into. When you remain connected to those who hurt you, you keep inhaling the same toxicity that once suffocated your soul. You start making excuses for behavior you'd never tolerate from anyone else. You begin normalizing pain because it feels familiar. But comfort in chaos isn't peace. It's addiction. You've gotten used to dysfunction, so real peace feels uncomfortable at first. That's why many people return to what broke them. Not because it's good, but because it's known. Healing demands the courage to walk into the unknown. When you finally step away, you'll experience withdrawal. Your heart will crave the chaos it once mistook for connection. But every time you resist going back, you build a new strength, one that's rooted in self-respect, not desperation. You begin to see that the peace you were searching for in them was waiting for you within. The same silence that once scared you becomes your sanctuary. And when you look back, you realize that staying would have kept you small, but leaving allowed you to grow. You cannot rebuild yourself in a place that celebrates your weakness. You cannot restore your faith among people who broke it. You cannot find healing in conversations that keep reopening your scars. Healing is not about returning to what hurt you to prove that you're strong. It's about walking away and proving that you've learned. There's no strength in tolerating the same pain. The strength is in refusing to. Think of a tree that's been struck by lightning. The burned branch can't regrow in the same spot. It must shed and redirect life to where it can thrive again. You're no different. The wound is not your ending. It's the pruning that prepares you for a new season. But if you keep standing in the storm, hoping it will change, you'll never see the sunlight waiting beyond it. God often removes people, environments, and situations for your healing to begin. But because you're emotionally tied to them, you see their removal as loss. It's not loss. It's divine redirection. Sometimes the absence you're grieving is the very presence that was delaying your peace. Once you accept that truth, you stop chasing healing where it doesn't live. So walk away without guilt. Let go of what broke you, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to heal. Healing doesn't happen by fixing the past. It happens by building a future where that pain no longer controls you. Remember, the place that wounded you is not where your story ends. It's just where your rebirth begins. Walking away is not cruelty, it's self-respect. There comes a time when staying silent, staying available, or staying hopeful only becomes another form of self-betrayal. You can love someone deeply, pray for their well-being, and still decide that your peace is worth more than their presence. Society often glorifies endurance. It teaches you that if you truly love someone, you should keep forgiving, keep trying, keep holding on. But what no one tells you is that there's a point where holding on becomes the very thing that's breaking you. Walking away is not about giving up. It's about choosing yourself when they refuse to choose you. True self-respect is knowing when to stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. It's recognizing that you can't convince someone to value what they were never meant to handle. Some people are addicted to chaos, and no matter how much love or logic you offer, they'll find a way to twist it. When you walk away, you're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself from being drained any further. You're telling the world, I finally understand my worth, and I won't let anyone discount it again. Walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stopped carrying what isn't yours. You stop carrying the weight of fixing someone who doesn't want to change. You stop carrying the guilt of someone else's mistakes. You stop carrying the illusion that your love alone could heal what someone refuses to face within themselves. It's not your job to make someone see your value. It's their responsibility to recognize it. And if they can't, then your absence will teach them what your presence once gave, freely. The moment you walk away from what disrespects you, your life begins to heal. Your spirit breathes again. You start to see how much energy you wasted trying to be understood by those who never wanted to understand, and that's when you realize peace was waiting for you all along. But it couldn't enter while you were entertaining pain. God can't bless you in rooms He's trying to pull you out of. The doors that close when you walk away aren't losses, they're protections. Each closed door is heaven's way of saying, I have something greater, but you'll never see it if you stay here. People might call you heartless for walking away, but that's because they benefited from your softness. They'll say you've changed, that you're cold, that you've lost your empathy, but in truth, you've just stopped bleeding for those who wouldn't even offer a bandage. You've realized that peace doesn't come from constantly proving your love. It comes from knowing when to stop pouring into emptiness. Walking away is the loudest form of self-love you'll ever express because it says, I deserve to be treated right, and I'm done settling for less. When you decide to walk away, guilt will try to whisper in your ear. It'll remind you of the good times, the promises, the familiar warmth that once made you stay. But remember, the same memories that make you miss them are tied to the same pain that made you leave. Nostalgia is dangerous. It makes broken things look whole again. But healing is not about revisiting the past. It's about protecting your future. You owe it to yourself to stop reopening doors God already locked. And here's the truth. Walking away is often the closure you've been searching for. Not every wound will be healed with an apology. Some healing comes from silence, the kind where you finally stop expecting them to understand. You stop waiting for them to admit what they did. You stop wishing for an ending that makes sense. Instead, you find peace in acceptance. You realize that your worth doesn't need validation, and your pain doesn't need recognition to be real. Walking away is not a loss, it's liberation. It's the moment your soul remembers who it is without the noise of manipulation and chaos. It's the rebirth that happens when you finally understand that love should never cost you your dignity. It's the day you stop begging for closure and start giving it to yourself, because some people will never say sorry. And that's okay. You don't need their apology to move forward. You need your own permission. So if you've been afraid to walk away, take this as your sign. You are allowed to leave. You are allowed to stop saving people who enjoy drowning. You are allowed to outgrow the places where your kindness was exploited. Walking away doesn't make you cruel. It makes you whole. It means you've learned that peace isn't found in who stays. It's found in your ability to let go of who shouldn't. At some point, you have to stop proving your loyalty to people who keep testing it. You have to stop reopening doors that God Himself has already closed. Life is too precious, your heart too sacred, and your peace too valuable to keep gambling it on people who've already shown you their intentions. Walking away, setting boundaries, and refusing second chances aren't signs of bitterness, they're signs of growth. They mean you've learned that not everyone deserves another seat at your table. and not every connection is meant to continue. Let the lessons harden your wisdom, not your heart. Let the pain refine you, not define you. You can forgive, release, and still move forward without looking back, because peace begins where tolerance ends. The moment you stop giving second chances to those who've proven unworthy, you create space for the ones who will cherish your soul instead of breaking it. So hold your head high, even if walking away feels lonely. You didn't lose them. They lost the rare chance to be loved by someone genuine. One day, they'll understand what they threw away, but by then you'll be far beyond their reach, healed, whole, and walking in the peace that comes from finally choosing yourself.